Welcome, Seeker. Take a deep breath and let all masks of conformity fall away. We enter the place of primal power where the voice of your heart is no longer whispered but roared. This is the story of an awakening of the inner flame and of the greatest enemy, the repudiation of your very own existence. Our story begins in the city of echoes, a place built not by walls but by constant quiet criticism. It was a city where people muffled their steps on the sidewalk and carefully matched the colors of their clothing to the grayness of the sky. Everyone lived in perpetual fear that the next person might find their truth inappropriate. The air itself was thick with unspoken judgments and the anxiety that one's own feelings might be too intense. Here, success was not defined by achievement but by the absence of blame. In this city lived Liana, a visionary who saw colors in gray alleys and heard songs in silent crowds. She possessed an essence she could not grasp, a deep, roaring need for authentic expression. When Liana painted, her canvases filled with gold and crimson, colors considered immoral in the city's muted living rooms. When she danced, her body was aflame, but she only danced in the silence of her own darkened room. Her true self was a majestic fireworks display, but she was forced to hide it in an unassuming lantern, terrified of blinding her neighbors or, worse, of revealing herself as a show-off. Liana's greatest fear was not rejection from the outside. It was the inner voice that amplified the world's attacks. Whenever she felt a spark of her true draconic energy, be it a brave thought, a bold plan, or an outburst of pure joy, the voice of repudiation whispered to her, "That is too loud. That is unreasonable. That is just your ego." This voice was so convincing because it sang with Liana's own melody, using only the sharpest, most personal arrows. It was not the world's criticism. It was the collective fear of the world speaking through her own mouth. Liana knew that she was mortally afraid of her own greatness. She suffered from the plague of the echo, the ominous tendency to accept the opinions of others as her own truth. She had spent her life keeping the dragon's energy, her primal power, in an iron cage, fearing the power itself was evil or destructive. One day, enduring particularly humiliating criticism from a neighbor about her presumptuous clothing, Liana fled into the deepest catacombs of the city. There, in a forgotten shaft where the city's foundation was damp and decaying, she found a small charred scale, as black as obsidian yet as warm as ember. This scale radiated no danger but a deep, ancient love. It was the call of the inner dragon, a primal energy that slumbers within each of us, the essence of sovereign, untamable existence. The scale vibrated in her hand as if to say, "I am your true substance. You have denied me." She sought out Marius, the keeper of the old ways, who lived outside the city of echoes in a small house that seemed to be built only of light and silence. Marius was not a magician with a wand. He was an old scholar whose true power lay in his absolute stillness and whose eyes held the stories of the last 1,000 years.
You have come, Liana. The scale does not burn you, it challenges you. You sense that your soul is more than the sum of your fears, but you have forbidden yourself to be this grand. You label your flame as selfishness. You call your joy arrogance. That is the repudiation.
Liana nodded, her eyes blind with tears. The scale in her hand seemed to beat with her pulse.
Marius, I feel it. I feel the fire, but every time I release it, it whispers to me. Repudiation. It tells me I am arrogant, insane, unworthy of this power. My own voice is my worst critic. How can I accept something that I myself condemn as evil?
That is the great lesson. The dragon does not have to be defeated. It must be awakened. But repudiation, the whispering shadow, is the final guardian. It is the manifested essence of all collective criticism that you have internalized. It can only defeat you if you accept its words as truth. You must choose the truth of the world or the truth of your heart.
Before we follow Liana into the Grotto of Sovereignty, the place where she will either unleash the dragon or remain trapped forever, I ask you, seeking spirit, if you feel this burning in your own soul, this yearning for unshakable autonomy, then take a moment now and join our circle. Subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. You won't just hear these stories, you will receive the tools to transform your own echo of repudiation into pure creative power. We are your support. We are your witnesses. We are your safe harbor in this stormy world. Thank you. Before we observe Liana's final trial, share with us. What repudiation, what criticism is the strongest smoke covering your inner flame? Write it in the comments. Your honesty is the first step toward awakening. Let us now observe Liana's final trial. Marius explained that the dragon scale was merely a key. To unlock the sealed energy, Liana had to journey to the sanctuary of the primal flame. This sanctuary was hidden not in the mountains, but in the deepest labyrinth of expectations within the city. There, where the alleys of self-sabotage were narrowest, she had to present a sacrifice. The sacrifice was not to be material, but the proof of her greatest repudiation. Liana had to find the symbol for the moment when she had most painfully held back her true energy. Liana traveled through the city's labyrinth. They were not physical streets, but the passages of her mind filled with signs whispering, "Don't go too fast. Don't ask too much. Don't be visible." She found the sanctuary, a small niche where a piece of charred linen cloth lay. Liana recognized it immediately. It was the cloth she had thrown over her first boldest canvas after an art teacher had called her work intrusive. The cloth symbolized the moment she repudiated her own creative power. Liana wept. She realized that she had not accepted the teacher's fear, but their judgment of her own energy. She had thrown the cloth over her dragon to silence it. She placed the charred scale on the stone of the sanctuary and held the linen cloth over it.
You are the sign of my cowardice that I mistook for wisdom. You are the veil with which I repudiated my flame. I no longer claim you as my truth.
As she released the cloth, it did not ignite. It vanished. The scale lit up, sealing the sacrifice. Now she was ready. Marius led Liana into the Grotto of Sovereignty. The space was massive, but it was not made of stone. It was built of condensed expectation. One could feel the weight of thousands of eyes judging you. In the center lay a statue that looked like a coiled dragon, not made of stone, but of frozen energy. This was Liana's inner dragon, sealed by her own doubt and the repudiation she had accepted.
The dragon sleeps deeply, Liana. Only the acceptance of the flame can awaken it. But the whispering shadow is coming now. It will present your own voice to you as a weapon. Expect no demon claws, Expect the gentlest, most convincing criticism you have ever heard.
Marius vanished into the shadows. Liana stood alone before the sleeping dragon. She placed the now warm scale into a small indentation at the dragon's head. The shadow manifested. It was not a dark figure, but a translucent, flickering outline of Liana herself, but with cold, judgmental eyes.
Look at you. You speak of a dragon? You are barely capable of managing your own life. Do you remember the day you shared your first dream? They laughed. You are too late. You are unoriginal. Your vision is just imitation. And you know that you are always lying to yourself about your true motivation. It is not pure creative power. It is the desperate need for validation.
Liana flinched. The shadow struck the nerve of her deepest insecurity. The fear that her inspiration was not pure but ego-driven. It was her own voice articulating her worst fears. The shadow began to wrap her in invisible chains. These chains were not made of fear, but of perfect logic. They showed Liana how her success would offend others, how her visibility would make her a target.
Lying! I am your truth. I am what you have said in all those sleepless nights. You are your own repudiation. You forbade yourself to step onto the stage because you're afraid that your performance will be imperfect. And who wants to see imperfection? Look, your hands are still trembling. True power belongs to those who never make mistakes. You are inconsistent. Last week you gave up. What is the point of starting today?
The shadow projected images. Liana's mistakes, her most embarrassing moments, opportunities where she had remained silent out of fear. It showed her the faces of the city of echoes condemning her. And it showed her the image of her own father telling her to be sensible. Each image tightened the chain.
Just be small. Be quiet. Stay safe. Your dragon will only cause problems. It will isolate you. You are better off hiding. Remember, responsibility is more important than passion. You are just irresponsible.
Liana felt the chains constricting her chest. She was ready to give up. She thought, he is right. It is easier to stay small. It is safer. Repudiation had almost completely defeated her. In this moment of absolute surrender, she felt the scale, now embedded in the dragon, pulsing. It was not the feeling of fire, but the feeling of density, of substance, of unshakable presence. It was the realization, the dragon is unoffendable. She remembered Marius's words. The dragon is awakened only through the acceptance of the flame. One must accept the judgment without accepting it as truth. Liana looked at the whispering shadow. She did not see the enemy. She saw a manifestation of her own fear.
Yes, I have made mistakes. I have hidden. I am late. I desire validation, and my hands are still shaking because I am walking this path for the very first time, and I have been inconsistent. All of this is true.
She stopped defending herself. Instead, she validated the criticism, but simultaneously disempowered it. She closed her eyes and let all the judgments about her imperfection flow through her without resistance.
You say I am imperfect? Then imperfection is my new truth. You say my voice is too loud? Then let it tear down walls. You are not my truth, Shadow. You are only an echo of my uncertainty, an echo that I now fully hear and yet let go of.
With every word Liana spoke, the dragon's scale glowed warmer. This is the true magic. The dragon reacts not to fighting, but to authentic being. Liana knew that she did not have to kill her ego, she had to integrate it. Liana reached out her hand. She grasped the chains of self-judgment that bound her. She did not pull on them. Instead, she said to the chains, which had been forged by herself, "I claim you as my story. And now the story is over." In that moment, the chains did not turn into light. They turned into liquid gold. The judgment became the source of her power. Every criticism she had accepted now became an indestructible mantle of protection. The sleeping dragon in the center awoke. It was not a furious, destructive monster, but a being of indescribable, calm sovereignty. Its eyes opened, not with fire, but with the deep, warm glow of knowledge, the knowledge of who you truly are. This is the awakening.
You are free, Liana. I am your unoffendable self. I am your primal truth. You were repudiated, not by your enemies, but by your own fear of claiming this power. Repudiation is the judgment of ignorance. Your flame is now unassailable because you love its imperfection. The ritual is complete.
The whispering shadow shrank. It was not defeated. It was ignored. It turned into a handful of glittering sand on the floor, without power, without weight. Liana returned to the world not as a fearless woman, but as a courageous one. She still saw the city of echoes as gray, but she herself was no longer gray. She carried the essence of the inner dragon within her. When she spoke, her voice was calm but irrefutable. She no longer had to prove her flame, she simply radiated. The true repudiation is to accept the criticism. The dragon does not have to burn the world to prove its existence. It simply has to be.
The fear of repudiation is worse than repudiation itself. The true power lies not in the fight, but in the unshakable acceptance of who you are. Your dragon awaits your permission to love yourself completely and unconditionally. The pain of criticism is merely the price of visibility.
This is the great wisdom for you seeking spirit. Your dragon is your sovereignty. Let the repudiation, the collective and the internal whisper in your ear. It is only the smoke that proves the fire is burning beneath. You are the flame, and the criticism is only what surrounds you. Go forth, be yourself, and know the dragon has awakened.